Hello everyone, this video will cover Module 5. Module 5 is the middle module for our argument proposal essay. And so in this module, you're going to be taking the topic that you came up with in the previous module and starting to look for sources for it, as well as building on your documentation skills. So we just got 2 assignments that you'll be working on, and if it helps, you can use the same sources for them so that you don't feel like you're doing a lot of extra work here. The first thing we're going to do is an argument discussion board, and this is just mainly to be able to see how argument works. We've already done a rhetorical analysis where you broke down an argument technique, an author's argument technique. Now we're going to do something similar, but in a smaller scale for the sources that you want to use. I do have some resources here for just writing an argument proposal, and if that helps, you have a rough outline in your journal that you did in the previous module. If you change your topic, I always recommend students email me just because that will give me a chance to make sure that you're still on the right track and you haven't chosen something. Typically, the issue with topics for this essay is students are thinking too broad, and so we want to narrow it down to something really specific that you can argue for. Remember, you're arguing for a solution. So here's my example, the one that I'm going to keep using for you guys. So I've identified the problem as students using AI generators to plagiarize, and then solution, rather than banning its use, most research shows that the solution is actually assignments showing AI limitations. And so my thesis then is educators should, so I'm using that word should, which is kind of magic in argumentation. We want a should or a needs to incorporate special assignments that use AI generators in order to demonstrate the limitations. So that's my main focus for my topic here, and for the essay itself is I'm focusing specifically on my audience of educators, and then specifically assignments that they can create in order to show students why it doesn't work for them at all in every situation. So we're going to then, for the body, is the first 2 paragraphs or so is my research that's going to back up what I'm saying. So I want to do plenty of research to see what kind of assignments are best, maybe some of the history of AI, what is it going to look like in the future, why do students need to know about it, we can't just ignore it, that kind of thing. And then encouraging critical and original thinking is also going to be a big paragraph, because I want to make sure that I really emphasize why all of these skills are important and how they can help support critical thinking as opposed to removing it. And then the objection, obviously, is that instructors will be worried that they're now teaching their students how to cheat. And so kind of addressing that objection or that concern is going to be my last main point in my essay. Sometimes your opposing points of view are more of like an objection as opposed to an opposite point of view. We tend to think of arguments as binary, and they're not always. A lot of times an objection will be something like, we don't have the funding to do this. It would be great if we could, but we don't have the funding, kind of thing. So just be keeping that in mind as you are working on your topic for your essay. So the first thing you want to do is just go out there and find some sources. I encourage you to do some research just in and around databases, as well as just a general Google search. You can find as many sources as you want. Just finding sources to help support your ideas is a good thing to do, because then you have plenty to look at. And you can do these assignments in any order. You can do the documentation assignment first if you want, but you can use the same sources for both of this discussion board and the documentation one. So it's up to you which one you start with. But for this assignment, for your discussion board, we're looking at just what the different types of arguments are out there, different types of articles. So you're going to find 3 for this discussion board. And for each of your 3 sources, you're going to create a new thread. So I have an example here, this Tech and Learning AI's Big Deal. AI in the classroom continues to evolve. So I'm going to copy and paste that into my reply, and I'm going to create a specific, oops, I just copied something different. That's not what I wanted. So asking for my email address. I'm just gonna, you know what, I'm just gonna copy this. There we go. If I can get it to work. So then I'm going to just reply. I've saved that as my source that I'm going to use, and I can always go back in and edit my post when I'm ready to sit down and put in all of the facts in there and all of the content. But I want to make sure that I save my sources so that nobody else takes them, because I don't want sources repeated for this one. It makes it really difficult to respond if we have a bunch of the same sources on there. So I want you to find different sources from what your peers have found. And you can, if you want to, for this assignment, if you want to use an AI generator to help you, you're supposed to be making a list of at least 10 important points for the site. If you want to use an AI generator to help you, you go to Perplexity or ChatGPT, put in the URL and say, please make a list of main points from this website or something like that. Then it will be able to generate that. Make sure that you double check it, of course, but that might give you some ideas if you're stuck. Sometimes it can be difficult to come up with 10 new things. At least half the points do need to be yours, and if you generate anything, you need to label it. So, you know, ChatGPT told me, you know, these, and same thing with the response. If you're having difficulty coming up with opposing views, you can do the same thing. Again, be sure to label any ideas created with AI. So here I am practicing what I'm preaching with my, you know, how to make better assignments with incorporating AI and showing you the limitations. So as long as you're labeling everything, and most of the work is yours, especially, you know, a 6 to 8 sentence explanation of your views, then you're doing just fine, and you don't need to worry about any points being deducted for that. So once you've done that, or at least started your threads, then you can move on to the second. I can get it to scroll down. The second assignment, which is a documentation assignment. We are continuing your skills. This is solely for practice purposes, but you may find it helps you when you sit down to write the essay, because you've already looked for good sentences that you can use for quotations. So this also has an AI option, and that is, and so you may want to start here if you want. So I've given you the prompt that you want to use, like in ChatGPT or Perplexity, is create an MLA style list of 6 to 7 sources or videos from reputable sources. Now the one thing to remember is that sometimes AI will create a source that is not accessible, and so the MLA citation is basically not you can't use it. So you want to make sure that you are going to each website to make sure that it's a legitimate website before you actually decide to use it. That's why I recommend creating a list of 6 to 7 sources. You only need 5 for the assignment and 3 for the discussion board. So that way you've got more than you need, and if it's generating sources that don't exist, then you can just not use those. So for each one, you're going to create that works cited entry. Make sure that it's following the rules from the textbook. Double check that they're not perfect, but sometimes they're pretty close if you're asking ChatGPT to create them for you. And then for each one, choose one sentence to either quote or paraphrase. So you can do one or the other for each source. So you'll have 5 sources and then 5 sentences. Within the 5 sentences, I want at least 2 quotes and 2 paraphrases so that I can see that you know how to do it, and then I can correct any issues that I see. That way, you know, there's not you're not going into writing the essay with some idea that is not, usually it's not MLA is the issue that students have. So I do have an example here if it will pull up, and it just shows 2 sources of two sentences. So it's not, it's processing. So it's not the whole thing, but at least will give you an idea of how you can put it together. And then this obviously AI level use, if you do end up using ChatGPT, make sure that you tell me. So those are the 2 assignments. They will take you a little bit longer, but they're not intended to be difficult. It's mostly practice and just making sure that you're understanding like what MLA is, how to find sources, all of that. I do have the databases pulled up. There is a link in there on the MLA assignment, and so the databases are a great place to start that you have access to through your Allen account. When you click on one, it will ask you to sign in with your Allen credentials, and then you have free access to all of the sources on that in the databases. So they're a really great place to start. If you have any questions, send me an email. Otherwise, have a great week.